Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio. Elevate your franchise with Franchise Now. We tell your brand story on our radio podcast and boost it with powerful content marketing strategies. From blogs and videos to infographics and more, we enhance your brand's SEO and online visibility. Let Franchise Now help your franchise stand out in a crowded market. Visit us today and learn more to start your journey for greater visibility and success. And now, here's your host.
Welcome back, everybody, to Franchise Marketing Radio, where we explore the incredible stories, strategies, and innovations driving franchise success. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and today we are joined by Dawn Perry. She's the Chief Brand Officer of CertaPro Painters. And Dawn has an impressive track record as a brand builder and business accelerator with diverse experience ranging from franchising and small business operations to retail and digital marketing. She's been with CertaPro Painters for, I think, over 2 years. We'll clarify that. But in that time, she's brought a dynamic approach to growing the brand and lead generation. So we're going to dive into Dawn's journey. It's going to be exciting. And I'm really happy to have you here. And I do want to talk about the broader Dawn, but also CertaPro, of course. And so welcome to the show.
Rob, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to get started. Have this conversation.
Okay. All right. Well, it's great to have you. And of course, with that sort of intro, we got to kind of learn a little bit about you. So tell me a little about your career. And, I am interested in what led you here and why you made the decision, because I think someone with your background could have probably chose a lot of brands. So what attracted you about CertaPro and how did that all come about?
Thanks for asking. I will say it's been a unique journey. Let me start by telling you a story about how I got into franchising, right? So I had been spending, a couple decades doing traditional marketing, started with direct marketing, went into some brand marketing as well. But when my children were born, I have 2 children. I'm married for over 25 years, and I have 2 children. They're adult children now, Isabel and Finnegan. But when they were little, we spent a lot of time at a place called the Little Gym. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a kids' fitness facility, and I spent every Saturday there, and then we went to many birthday parties there, and I'm looking around at this franchise model going, oh, seems to be a lot of opportunity for, financial success and leaving a legacy you can be proud of, and that's what I love about franchising in general. So I decided to leave corporate America and buy a franchise of the Little Gym. So I started out very uniquely as a franchisee. And I'll tell you this, Rob, what I learned pretty quickly is I knew nothing about local marketing, right? I have been doing all of this advertising and marketing for many, many years. And when you're in the trenches day to day in your local market, it is a very different thing. I learned a lot there. Unfortunately for me, I had that gym and probably the worst time to have a kids' fitness gym. It was right when the economic downturn and the housing crisis. So particularly in New Jersey, which is where I'm from, we had a lot of struggles with, foreclosures and other things. So people were not investing in kids fitness. So I closed the gym and decided to go back to corporate America. And when I did, I went back into franchising, or more extension on the franchisor side. So I worked at ERA Real Estate, which is part of the Anywhere family of brands. So that's my journey into franchising. But I have, years of experience in direct response, brand building. But that's what got me to today.
We stole you. The franchise industry sucked you out of corporate America, brought you in. And, but we always talk about like the talent level of franchisees, and they go through their journeys, and the talent level of the franchisors, but it's still small business, right? Even big franchises, it still sort of feels small business, right? So it's cool. But yeah, it's great. I'm glad you came over and stayed in the franchise world with your abilities and background. But okay, so tell me a little bit about CertaPro and what's interesting about that? Yeah. What's your take?
Well, so I said that I went over. So what I said was I went over to ERA Real Estate, right? So I was in that brand for 10 years, and I used to wear red. ERA is a red brand, right? So, when you're in marketing, you live and breathe every piece of clothing I had some red in it. And you do that for 10 years, and I led marketing there. But as I said, they were part of the Anywhere family of brands. So then I moved into a strategic marketing role at the parent company. So I was brandless or brand agnostic. And I did a lot of great work there in terms of really refining and providing efficiencies with marketing vendors and operations. And my main role was to take programs that we did at across 6 brands and help a brand turn it into their voice their value prop, right? Because we may be offering the same service, but you go to market differently if you're Century 21 versus Sotheby's International Realty. So that was a really great experience. But I'll be honest, I missed wearing a color. I missed having a home, right? That was mine. And CertaPro approached me. Their chief brand officer was retiring, and I explored the opportunity. And I just loved what they stood for. They have some tremendous core values, which all brands, generally do. Ours are deliver what you promise, have pride in what you do, practice continuous improvement, right? Respect the individual, those type of things. And the most important one, embrace the possibilities, right? There's always opportunity for evolution and change, and really just providing fulfilling more of our customers' needs, right? So I was excited about that. I was happy to put back on a logo and call it my own, and they welcomed me with open arms. So that's how I wound up at CertaPro, and it's been a great ride. Yeah, you were right. A little over 2 years. It was 2 years in August.
Yeah. Well, so tell me a little bit about you step into a brand like CertaPro, and that sounds great. Yeah, I do want to hone in on brand, the word, and I like that your title is Chief Brand Officer. It's Chief Marketing Officer, Chief Brand Officer, but it's to me the heartbeat of a culture and a brand or a business is the brand. And oftentimes a small business owner certainly isn't getting to that level of thought. It's just like, well, that's ABC cleaning or something, right? But it's so important, right? Like, what does it make you feel like? And so you saw something, you like the core values, embracing the opportunities. I love that. So you step into this role. How now do you look forward? Now, what is some of the things that you've put into place, some of the strategies, and tell me a little bit about where you're moving now.
Yeah. So when I joined, it was August of 22. We were just coming out of COVID, right? So this is a home service model, right? We provide a painting service for both residential and commercial. We have two different types of customers, B2C, B2B. And we go to market a little bit differently, but the brand is still the core value prop of the brand is important for both. And that core value prop is to deliver extraordinary experiences, right? More than what you would expect from home services. But like every other home service, and I was in real estate before, as I said, we had a surge, an unexpected surge with COVID, because real estate was considered an essential service. So that still went on. And this type of home service, everybody was trapped in their homes. So there was a lot of demand for painting, specifically for residential, even if it, obviously died down a little for commercial because not everybody was working.
Right.
And then when I joined, we were having a little bit of a depression in demand because we pulled some of that forward. So one of the things that I've been working on is trying to find ways to restart and re-engage and rebuild awareness where, we have good awareness, but it was trying to reintroduce people to the brand, that there is value into hiring a painter. I do want to share a little bit with the COVID situation is that, and I think this is true for all franchising, just as a point about the brand, when you are a service company and you rely on yard signs to drive awareness, your trucks running around the neighborhood, all those things, we call that assertive marketing. When we were inside and just going point to point to do the job, you didn't have as much feet on the street awareness. So that's something we've been trying to rebuild with our franchisees. One of our tactic we've been talking about for the last year is something called Own the Street, right? Go back and engage. Not just, they all still, like, we'll talk a little bit about this, I believe, later, about just community engagement, because that's what I love about franchising. When I was a franchisee, as well as with the ones that I support, they are so entrenched, not only in giving back to their community in a philanthropic way, but hiring local people, empowering other entrepreneurs. Our business model is our painters are subcontractors. So in effect, they're entrepreneurs, right? So just really making sure you're empowering your community. But this Own the Street idea is, get out there with your community, make sure that they're aware you're out there, engage with the neighborhood where you're painting and things like that. So it's really just a re-engagement on focus back to the basics of why you became a franchisee and the benefit of just, we call earning your own opportunities within your market.
All right. Awesome. Well, I was going to ask you, as you were answering, you circled around and kind of gave me part of the answer. I was going to talk a little bit about how you're balancing sort of the technology side of things, right? Because we know Facebook and all social media, and Google, we all use those tools, and especially in things like home services, people at some point will start to look at reviews or go to Google or social media. So you've got that going on, and you can share a little bit of how you approach that in terms of packaging that up for the franchisee. But what I was going to ask you was, how do you balance that sort of not going overboard and get you staying grassroots and staying, interactive with the community? And so you started to answer that, but how do you balance that, and how do you view that? Like, obviously you have to lean on Google and these other things and be aware and be present there, but tell me more how you do that.
Yeah. So, look, we break it up in two ways. There's business that you pay for, and there's business that you earn, right? And the earned business is less expensive to acquire, but maybe sometimes harder, takes more initiative to engage. And the pay for is what you just talked about, right? What are we doing for paid search? What are we doing in Facebook, any of the meta channels, if you will? What are you doing in brand awareness, advertising, radio, TV, OTT, whatever it is, right? So it's important to do all of those brand building opportunities and use your money wisely to buy an opportunity, right? But our goal is to serve as many customers as possible. And a lot of that comes down to making sure you're engaged. So word of mouth would be things like, are you generating enough reviews? Yes, there is technology to help you do that and capture the review. We have been telling our franchisees, it's great to get a review, but a review that says someone's name. Painter, Betty was our painter, and she did a phenomenal job. She came in with a smile every day when she entered our home. She treated our home like it was her own. Every day I got an update. I would hire Betty again. That is the type of review you're looking for. That's an experience. That's not, oh, I hired somebody to paint. They did a good job. I mean, our paint application is stellar, right? But it is the experience that we provide and the way we make you feel when we enter your home and leave it a little bit better than maybe it was when we started. That's the goal, right? So there's the pay for, but then in the earned part, that's where you're generating those reviews and referrals. That's the cornerstone of any small business, right? Is to make sure that you're getting advocates of your brand and people that are experiencing something that's worth telling. Like, there's a story worth telling. A review is great, but did you tell anybody else about it? Right? Did you tell your friends? Can I share one quick story really quickly?
Yeah, please.
Has nothing to do with branding, but it had to do with CertaPro. We just had a corporate team meeting. We do that one time a year because we're hybrid, right? So we bring everybody together, and we did a team building exercise where we built bikes for a local charity. And it was the team building exercise, but I have told you included now probably 12 people about this because it was such a fun, it was not a difficult exercise, right? But the way we all collaborated to build these bikes, and we built like 25 bikes, and then we handed them off to some kids in need, and they were excited, the first bike they've ever had.
Yeah.
So these things make you feel good, right? And so a brand value should be more than what the words are on the paper. It should be, what kind of feeling are you trying to emote from the customers that use you?
And I gotta hand it to you, because I was feeling and visualizing what you meant by experience. And I was thinking about my experiences with home services and how that there is something to that. And I started to recall a lot of things, just the way the guys talk to you, communication. Are you okay? Is it all right? Or rolling out the red carpet, or all these little touches that create this experience that they're not even aware of, but it's very thoughtful. And I don't know if you want to add anything to specific little things that you do. If you want, you can. But I was going to get into, as a next, just a follow up to your question. So you've got this sort of balance. I know what you're saying. It's like, look, if you can provide that experience and communicate with these folks so that they can share it, then the referrals you get from that are the best customers. They're going to be the best momentum you can create. And so how do you then, is there KPIs? I'm going to throw out a marketing acronym, but I know you guys, you're always looking at things too, numbers. Do you boil it down to some KPIs, like in training, like how do we balance? Because the Google stuff or the Facebook stuff, that's all dashboards, and you can obviously share more about what you think is most important there. But on this other side, where it's more the franchisee earning and interacting, how do you measure that, or how do you approach that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And it's it's an evolution, let's just say, in terms of measuring success. And so we have at CertaPro, we have tremendous dashboards, probably more lead sources than you would ever need in any tracking. In fact, that gets comprehensive and confusion after a while. Even if you think about search, right? There's branded search, unbranded search. Now we have other channels like Google has Performance Max. I don't need to bore anybody with all of those things, but there's all of these different channels, right? And you want to measure to see the value of your advertising dollar. Makes sense. We also do that for both assertive and word of mouth. So they have the opportunity, but the challenge with that, in all cases, it's generally self-reported. Who referred you today, right? So we have an opportunity. You could put that in there. We're trying to automate that too, because we've found, in the digital age, almost, I want to say, I'm trying to think of what my last number was. I think it was like 65% of all of our inquiries come through digital, but that does not mean they came through a digital advertising opportunity. So we send direct mail. They go to CertaPro.com, fill out a form, comes through as digital. You may have heard about us because you saw a yard sign. You've gone to CertaPro.com, you filled out a form. And we do ask, don't get me wrong. But again, it's up to the franchisee or the salesperson who's talking to them to update the information. We are trying to be a little bit more systematic about how did you hear from us? Sometimes when we do a callback or a thank you for the business, we say, hey, I meant to ask you, were you referred by anybody? We just want to call and thank them as well, so that we can continue that gratitude of the customers we have. And as with any franchise, your previous customers are, the lifeblood of your business. So we want to continue to nurture them and feel like they, provide value.
You caught me there with that last comment about following up with the referral. That's really cool, because I could almost think they might give you another one. That's just
Maybe.
like, you know what I mean? If you call them up and thank them, it makes them feel really good. I think people probably care more about that than whatever, like if there was financial benefit
Yeah.
or I mean, we just don't care about those things that much. I mean, usually nice if you got it, but calling someone and thanking them for a referral is awesome. So that's a great touch too.
You think of the story I just told you, right? I don't have that company that does the bike building. They don't get anything from me. I don't get anything from them. I think they're a tremendous opportunity. I didn't need any compensation for that. And when you feel like it was a good experience, you generally don't need that.
Exactly. Yeah. Oftentimes when I'm interviewing certain brands, I say your product is like if it's a food brand, or something like it's experience and food taste. Like that's your marketing. Like if you do that good, everybody can't stop talking about it, right?
Yes.
So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about community involvement, because I know, and I told you earlier, I do the show because I love talking to people like you, and I love talking to brands, and because I think it's probably the best bridge to really having that satisfaction of running a business and what all that involves. And part of that is, and we mentioned it earlier, is as a franchisee, the community involvement, the interaction with other businesses, other organizations, and families. So it's like a really great opportunity to get involved. And so tell me more about how you guys approach that, both, at the local level and then nationally, some of the things you do to kind of partner with other great organizations.
Sure. So, I just talk about franchising in general before I get into all of that was, I always say, we're in the business of selling franchises as well, right? So when somebody comes in, is interested in buying a CertaPro franchise or, affiliating with us, we say, the benefit of franchising, right, is you get to be an entrepreneur, but you get the opportunity to work with all these professionals that have an expertise. They can you get access and insight to access to those expertise and insight into all the things that we're testing and looking at on your behalf, right? So that's what I love about just franchising in general, right? You can be your own business owner, but you have a framework, a really good proven framework that you can use so you don't have to start from scratch. So that's phenomenal.
Exactly.
But all of our franchisees, and I think it's true, I don't want to just say it's franchising, I think it's any entrepreneur, right? A lot of times there's a reason or a cause that's important to you that you weave into your business model so that you're continuing to give back. A little story just recently, obviously with the hurricanes that have just happened, not to be point in time, but we've had some hurricanes in the Southeast, and we've had franchisees that are impacted by that. Our parent company is First Service, and they have a relief fund that we all continue to contribute to that also gives back to not only franchisees in any of the brands that are part of the parent company, but also painters and others that might need assistance, right? So at the corporate level, at our parent company, we do things like that. At the local level, we've had franchisees that were not affected say, send your painters up here. We have some work for them. We know they can't work in their current market right now, right? That's all they live and breathe by, the paint job. Send them up here. We have some work we can give them. So trying to keep everybody. So that's just very specific point in time. And then they have causes that are near and dear to their heart, right? And they support those. One that we do for CertaPro at the national level, or system-wide, I should say, level, because we're in the United States and Canada. We support breast cancer awareness and research. And there's two different research funds, one specific for Canada, one for the US. And we just kicked it off the other day. It's we call the initiative Paint It Pink. And really what we're just trying to do is raise some money and awareness for this research. And you can just go to CertaPro.com and click the pink banner and you'll get all the information and you can donate. You don't have to do a paint job with us, of course not. But it gives the opportunity for our franchisees to take part of what they're making on each job and give it back to these organizations as well. So we do this from now. I know it's only October is breast cancer awareness, but we take it to the end of November, and we try to raise as much money as possible for these really important programs. Right? We've made such strides in breast cancer specifically, and in all cancers, that we just need to continue to fund that. So it's really important to us.
I don't think there's any other purpose in life, and I think it's like the idea that we can create a service that, impacts lives, like paint a house, is beautiful, right? And then while you're doing that, just have a stream that flows to other places that helps. And I think I just hope more and more of that. I think we're in a world where that's becoming more and more and more part of marketing. I think I've heard the phrase social marketing, and I didn't know what the person meant. And they actually meant like social causes marketing. But just doing good, like just finding innovative ways to do good. What the heck, I don't think anyone says, like when they ask me, would you like to round up for kids? I'm like, what? Stop asking. I'll round up for the rest of my life. I mean, I'm assuming you're doing the right thing with the money, but not that you should do a little due diligence in what you're doing. But, when you're at that cash register or this transactional level of things, I just love when you put things in place, people can click something and go and give something, whatever their heart leads them to do. But awesome. That's great. And so I wanted to kind of talk a little, you made a comment earlier about, I think when we first started, you talking about why one of the brand values about embracing opportunity. I think it was that the phrase, but so I want to talk to you about it. Yeah. The possibilities. Yes.
Yeah.
So innovation in franchising, that's a big thing, right? Like you've got to always be sharpening your tools. And technology kind of forces you to like, hey, you ought to look at this shiny object and you ought to look at that. So tell me a little bit from your view, because I know, and I can feel I do similar work as you. So that you got to manage the shiny object stuff, right? And you got to look probably through the lens of your brand and the lens of what helps our franchisees and the communities. But how do you innovate? Do you have a process? And how do you spot those possibilities? How do you develop that as a leader and as a team?
Yeah, I would say, holistically, it really depends on where you are in your life cycle as a brand, right? So I can speak specifically for me when I was at ERA and now at CertaPro. These are, pretty, like CertaPro was founded in 1992. It's not a new brand, and it is the industry leader. We have the most awareness and most market share of painters, right? It's a really fragmented industry. There's, an owner who's also a painter, and his name is Bob, and I live in Sparta, New Jersey, and he paints right. And then there is CertaPro in who is also local, who is also independent, who is also a franchise, a small business owner, but goes to market a bit differently, right? So I'm sure it's true for you, it's true for me, and it's true for all of our franchisees. We are bombarded every day with a new shiny object, like squirrel, there it goes, right? Like there's something new that's going to completely reinvent what you do and drive more business to you. And so, we act a bit as a clearinghouse, right? We're getting feedback from franchisees as it goes. We have, I found this company that says they can geofence this, that, and the other thing. And it's reminding them that you already have a vendor that works really hard for you to do, X, Y, and Z. Re-engage with them, ask them the questions before you try to figure out how to plug in something new, right? And we've been talking a little bit about mastering the basics, right? Like you don't always need new. You need to get as much juice out of the lemon you currently have before you move on to the orange or whatever
Right.
I don't know. It's my own little metaphor there. I don't know if that's the strongest one, but you know what I mean, right? It's like
the idea of a
really,
magnifying glass, right? The
yeah,
sun focuses that energy into one spot. I know
exactly.
exactly. It's brilliant, and it is the problem. It is one of the
Yeah.
biggest challenges of any business owner is to zero in and refine the most important things, because you can let
Yeah.
the other stuff fall away, and it may not be great, but yeah. So go ahead, keep going.
Well, and I think the other thing is, unique to franchising that I don't think I certainly didn't understand before I became a franchisee, right? You are independently owned and operated. You are a small business owner. So you have agreed to use the brand in the way that you've agreed to use the brand based on the FDD and your agreement. And so we hold you accountable to that. But you are all at its core, a small business owner who has the right to decide to do something, as long as it doesn't hurt the brand and go against your agreement, you can try things. So it is a balance, right? Your question was specific about innovation, right? So what we are doing is we, as I said, a clearinghouse for all of those things, but we're also looking at them at the corporate level. What would be good for all? What will drive overall growth? And we're at an inflection point a little bit at CertaPro. I said we started in 1992, and we're quite large. And any small business as it starts, we started out as College Pro. I don't know if you know the history of CertaPro, but it was exterior painting in Canada. And, it was a bunch of guys from college that would go out and own their own business. And we have evolved and amplified and grown to this, really great franchise. And with that, though, as you grow, you have to enhance your technology. You have to enhance the way you go to market. You have to provide a different level of service from all of your marketing partners. So you asked this earlier on. I'm not sure I answered it specifically, but part of that innovation is evaluating where you are, eliminating any of the, fat, if you will, in terms of what you might have accumulated along the way with the shiny objects, and figuring out what is the right path forward, and then figuring out what's next, right? And the goal is to always stay a little bit ahead of what's the famous quote? You got to skate for where you think the puck will be, right?
Yes.
Wayne Gretzky. Yeah.
That's hilarious that you brought that. I swear that's been it's in a presentation that I do about AI. And because that is so much the truth now with the acceleration. It's just the same thing that we've been dealing with for many years, but it's accelerating. So it's more important than ever to anticipate, right? To go skate where the puck is. So exactly. That's so funny that you brought that quote up. That's a great quote. I love it.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Perfect for anything.
So all right. Well, that was great. And so, okay, we're talking about franchises and launching businesses and scaling businesses. And so no matter how good your blueprint is, your systems, your processes, your training, your support. And by the way, I always say this all about franchising. I mean, you've got a built-in mastermind network of other business owners that think the way you think, doing the exact same job, not even similar, right? So it's like you can't even find that in a normal business world if you're just a business owner. And so you have all that going. And so all designed to lift everybody and get through and grow and achieve what everybody's goal is. But in that, what I've always discovered is you have to be really good at solving problems. And there's I think a mindset to that. And there's also sometimes a process to that. So how do you view that? I'm sure you have to coach people through things, but tell me a little bit about how you guys help both your team and then of course franchisees. How do you guys approach that?
Well, you actually brought up a really good point that I just want to emphasize a little bit, which is you are surrounded by people of like mind and in the same business as you that are doing it every day, right? One of the things that was interesting, I tell a story when I had my franchise. I remember go to training and everything. They're like, you need to try Valpak and you need to be you need to be in the advertisement at the movie theater. And so when you're a new franchise owner, you try everything, right? Like what all these things, and what might work in Duluth may not work in Sparta, New Jersey. You try it, and that's why it's important to measure. But surrounding yourself with others that are trying to do exactly what you're doing and learning from their experience is really one of the beauties of franchising, right? You have hundreds of owners that have either been where you are and have moved on, right? Or struggling in the same way, and that you're both or all of you are looking for guidance from the others who've done it, right? And all business is cyclical, right? We have ups and downs. We're coming out of a downturn. We're going to go up again. And really just how do you ride those waves? And you get that from the other business owners. So we love that. I think you're right. You're solving problems. I'm absolutely one to say, overall, paid search might be down because the appetite for searching for painters near me might be down and giving you, well, how do we fill the bucket with something else? So that's part of the problem, and we're constantly involved in that. But I also think it's more of, my role is almost a facilitator of information at times. Like, I don't have all the answers. There are people that are doing it every day in their businesses that have an answer that we just need to facilitate and make sure that we are sharing their stories, getting them connected with the right franchisees that can benefit from their knowledge. And the opposite's true as well. We also learn from everything that's happening on the street. So we have as with all franchising, we have a proven method that if you master the basics or go back to the basics, you will succeed, but you also can learn from your peers. And that's the wonderful thing about franchising.
Yeah, totally. Like I said, I've been on the in and outside of franchising a lot. And, just as I've now done this a long time, I look at it and say, what a wonderful industry it's been, because it's been consistent and it's been growing. And I'm not saying it's all rosy for everybody in every situation, but yeah, I've been out there in the real business world, and that's just you're for yourself, and you got to figure it out. And this is not that, but you still have that independence. You still have that ability to be everything, honestly, that is required. And I think once you become that, I also think that's such a personal achievement. So I think it's so cool. I love going on and on about that. But all right, so like, what excites you about the future? Tell me, like, we have a lot going on in the world. And we just said how great the industry is. So I know your industry, painting and home services. Tell me a little bit about how you see that evolving into the future. What excites you about that? And then maybe just in general, what excites you about the franchise industry, going forward? What are some of your goals too? Like if you want to tie that in.
Yeah, so I can say what I think for the future, right? So my focus primarily right now is, you mentioned it at the beginning, I'm a chief brand officer, right? Well, one of the things that was also exciting about joining CertaPro is when we went through the downturn, which started, they had this great ride up when, particularly with COVID, and they decided to continue to invest in marketing, even when they were uncertain whether we would actually have a tide that goes up. And as an organization, they understand the value of continuing to keep your foot on the gas as it relates to marketing spend. I'm sure you're aware, one of the first things people cut is marketing, because it's a bit of a variable cost, and that is not a long-term strategy. That's a short-term, possible fix, right? So they continue to invest in it. So I'm excited about that. My main role is building this brand, right? And that means generating more awareness for both our residential type business, right? Painting homes, interiors and exteriors. We do both. We resurface cabinets. We actually now do floor coating. So in many markets, so there's so much opportunity there, and building up that brand, but also strengthening what we do commercially. And what we say in commercial is, we're here to solve your problems, right? Yeah. It could be, if you're an HOA owner, it's making sure that we stay under budget, on time, and get the approval of all the powers that be, because it's, there's a lot of approvals in that process. And when we're working in a healthcare facility, we make sure we do not disrupt any of the operations, because their patients are the most important thing in the whole scenario, right? So just really making sure that we're solving problems. So really just amplifying the brand the best way we can, and continue to invest in that. And then of course, just connecting with my job is to connect as many customers with our franchisees as possible, right? So that's either at the corporate level, what I do for them for both Canada and the US, and what I help them do on their own. And that's kind of brings us back to what we talked about to start.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're, just in terms of, your team, internally, how do they interact with the franchisees? I just wanted to touch on that, because what you just said kind of struck me a certain way. Do you guys interact and provide some degree of coaching, or how does that work? Like, I know things are probably turnkey in some ways, but like they have to understand how to receive the leads and so how does that work? Like, do you provide coaching from your team directly? Is there someone in place that helps the franchisee with some of these things we've been talking about?
Yeah, so it's a bit of an evolution. First of all, I can't say enough great things about my marketing team, and I'm sure, many leaders can say that, but they really are the backbone of how we get things done here. And we are set up in a way that we provide not only subject matter expertise in things like digital marketing, or direct mail, because we do direct mail as not every company does that, but we still continue with direct mail, from brand awareness and advertising, right? So we have subject matter experts that can consult. And the way I coach my team is that you should be available to answer franchisees' questions no matter what, right? We are surrounded by really smart professionals that are just looking for guidance or help. And to the extent that you can get on the phone or by email, answer their question and solve that and move it on the way, that's what we're here to do. In addition to continuing to evolve and find new ways to grow, we are striving for our franchises to be the most profitable. Can't promise that, it's franchising, right? But the most successful they can possibly be, and whatever that means for them. Right? Sometimes that's exponential growth. Sometimes that's more profitability. Sometimes that just means a bigger team. Who knows? But and that level of consulting that happens on our operations side. But from a marketing standpoint, we do the same way. What can we do to help you? Where do you need to invest your money? We have a bunch of really smart people. We call them marketing success managers. Some franchise networks do regional marketing managers, and but we do it by size of business. And their role is to do one-on-one consulting. Let's look at your marketing plan. Let's see how you're set up for success. Where can I coach you or help you, overcome some obstacles? But they also help manage some of it. We have co-op marketing as well, which is what we use for brand awareness. And so they manage that. So the whole team is positioned, and we have a great creative team, right, that does custom creative for which a lot of franchises don't offer. Like that is something where you're off on your own trying to create new advertisements, so we have that service in-house too. They do video. And so we have a lot of experts that our franchisees have direct access to. And they get calls regularly from franchisees.
I knew there was a big answer behind that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's, mm-hmm. Again, the value of that so that you can focus on experience. Yeah. Like if you're the business owner, you're focused on relationships and experience, and you've got so much there just to kind of not get too buried in the weeds of those details. Because even we talked earlier about simplifying and focusing and mm-hmm. high impact, focus on those things. But no matter what, business today is more complicated, right? There's just more moving parts. And so it's great to have a marketing team to support you and dedicated one-on-one support in all those areas. Like you said, like just being a direct mail expert, you think, there's strategy, there's tactics behind all that. There's copywriting, there's targeting, there's a lot that just goes into a campaign like that. If you don't come from marketing, you need that support. So it's
right. Like, I'm sure this is true for you. Like, I do a lot of time I spend a lot of time just educating people on how complex marketing has become. And so as a leader, my role is to hire the smartest people that know the most about a particular thing and let them do what I hired them to do, right? That's how I lead my team. I mean, I surround myself with really smart people that are focused on delivering every single day, so that I don't have to worry about exactly what is the pay-per lead for this particular thing at this time. So, I connect with our franchisees with the experts, which is essential to everybody's growth.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, I wanted to ask you real quick. I know we've been talking a little while, but I did want you to sum up because I wanted the audience to hear it. Like, what's the unique value proposition? I wanted to zero in. We talked a lot about mm-hmm. customer experience, clearly multiple offers or great products and different things. But how would you sum up why you're a little different other than your amazing brand of 30-year plus and all that? That's great. But how do you do that? Like, what is that sort of differentiator that you guys often use against similar types of businesses?
Yeah. So I'll put it in my words, which is CertaPro is about delivering the exceptional and extraordinary experience to our customers that is customized and unique for each customer, right? We don't go in with a blanket approach to say, this is how we paint, this is what you're going to do, this is what, here's a cookie cutter price, right? We work with you to consult. So when a salesperson goes into a customer's home, they are there to see a particular thing. If there's a form filled out, they're addressing the form, right? But they are also consulting with the customer and learning about what's going on in this home. What can we help you with? We've always told a story. There's been times where we go in and they're like, okay, look, I want you to paint. I want you to get this done in 2 days or whatever. But my daughter takes a nap from 1 to 2 every day. So I prefer that you are not moving around the house. No problem. Instead of going to lunch at noon, we go to lunch at 1, right? So it's really understanding. And I love that about CertaPro, right? It's the willingness, right? And the eagerness to make sure that we are a partner in this project with you and that we deliver that experience. So it's more about, yes, I said this at the beginning, we deliver extraordinary painting in both residential and commercial, but it's more than that, right? And that's what sets us apart. Yes, we provide transparent estimates, a very detailed bill. We provide constant communication every single day. We say that we like to tell your story once. We ask all these questions up front about the pain points. You talked about them before in servicing. Mm-hmm. I've told the story during COVID. I was trying to get some trees down. I got 3 guys that came out. One guy didn't show up. Well, 4 guys I went to. One guy didn't show up. The other guy came out, walked around, gave me an estimate on a napkin that he pulled from his truck. And then I got 2 other really professional ones, right? But so that's what people expect. And really, we ask those questions up front. What has gone wrong? How can we provide a better level of service? And that's how it gets customized. So it really is just delivering that extraordinary experience to every customer.
I think it's brilliant. I mean, when I think about the evolution of marketing in any market, anything, right? So like the idea of, I was thinking about weight loss. I don't know why, but like the idea of the early products would say, lose weight, right?
Yeah.
After a while, it's like, of course, like that's what but then it was like, build your self-confidence, or, it got deeper and deeper and deeper. And I think where we're at, and what I think is brilliant, what you're doing, I think it's so cool because it's also relationship oriented. But it's like asking a mom, hey, would it be better if we did this because your babies, that you have that level of connection with their life. Yeah. And to me, that's the differentiator, because of course the paint's great. Of course the price is competitive. Of course we show up on time, right? Like you expect that now, right? So the marketing evolves and the process evolves and the brand, gets to be more, I think, which is kind of cool to see. Yeah.
And I think about from a commercial standpoint, it's not just one, like residentially, it could be one job every 3 years. It could be, 2 jobs in a year and no job for, it really depends. But from a commercial standpoint, it is a relationship you're nurturing for a long-term opportunity, right? There's going to be, if you manage an HOA, like there is a lot of different things from stairways to outdoor surfaces, right? And really just understanding, when is their budgeting time? When can I provide you an RFP so you at least have information to build into your budget for next year? That's kind of where we are right now with most of our commercial clients. Like, how can we help you succeed next year in your goals? And that's really the cornerstone of what we're about, making sure that people are feeling that they're meeting their goals. Whether it's, we talk about painting happy, that's our campaign, right? Like your life is all about much more than the color of paint. But what happens inside your house is how you feel on the outside. You want to bring that on the inside. We're just shooting our new commercial now, and we're excited for it because it really just gets closer to the customer and what they need.
Awesome. I'm going to be looking for it. I have to click on some things, make sure I get the algorithm.
Well, we've talked now, so it'll follow you around. You'll get CertaPro all the time now.
Yeah. But what was I going to say? So that is brilliant, though. And I was just thinking about the commercial side now, like the fact that so the phrase "good works" like comes into my head, like just doing great work, and that applies on the commercial side. And I was thinking as how I am, I've been on both sides, a vendor and a buyer, and you're right. Like I love vendors that are thoughtful. Like they're like, let me try to make your life easier. And if they actually do, even if it's just, oh my God, they sent me a proposal. I'm supposed to prepare all this information for my budget in October, November. And just like that little thought could be the whole thing right there. That could be the thing. And so the fact that you're aware of that and that you teach that way and think that way is just brilliant. I think it's awesome. But also, as a franchise owner, that's amazing that you have those opportunities. I mean, I'm sure you can scale a pretty healthy business and enjoy your life. But I love when there's B2B and B2C together and then the community involvement. So it sounds like a pretty awesome opportunity. What advice would you give anyone considering maybe sitting on the fence of either a franchise opportunity or even something like this? What would you tell them? A lot of people do get concerned about marketing and and growing, getting those customers. And how do I do that? It might be a little scary. I don't know what you recruit for, but what would you say? What would your advice be? And
well, so I would say from a franchising standpoint, and I sit with prospects, people that are interested, we call candidates, at least once a month, going through, we talk about the value of what we provide as a franchisor. But when you're sitting in that chair, and sometimes it's interesting because I'll have a conversation like, yeah, I didn't consider painting. I looked at this, I looked at that. So I wound up at the little gym, remember, because my kids were in the little gym. I didn't actually look very further than that, right? But there are people that, and I would say a majority of the time, it is smart people that are looking for the opportunity for them to build a legacy that they're proud of, that can leave behind or sell, so that leaves a legacy of some financial success to the people they're going to leave that behind to. And so really the best opportunity is to just explore with franchising. We do that at CertaPro, right? Like, help me understand what's the path to success. What kind of trajectory, which we can't promise, but can you demonstrate that others have been on? And of course, as part of the franchising process, they get the opportunity to speak to other franchisees at their choice. But I think make sure that you're talking to the franchisor about what kind of not only marketing and technology do you give me, but what kind of one-on-one support. One of the things I love about CertaPro is that our ratio of support staff or corporate staff to franchisee is one of the best in the industry. And we really just provide this one-on-one. So we give you we'll call it a business consultant, right? So that is the person, and we, depending on where you are in your cycle, are what we call development franchisees, the ones that just joined us, whether it was they bought a resale or they opened a new territory. We have a very specific path for them. They get training. They also have a general manager or a business consultant that helps them. They have a specific marketing success manager that understands where they are, walks them through in detail their entire marketing business plan, right? Where they should, connects them with the right vendors. So it really is, make sure that you're getting the level of support, because having all the tools, the technology, even every franchise, here's your business plan, fill out the business plan, look at so that process is there, but you need a bit more insight into where there's opportunities, where people have gone wrong. And that only comes from that consulting. So I'm thrilled that CertaPro provides that. That's another reason why I joined, just because of the level of support that we provide. And that also helps me, right? Like, I've got a whole partnership with the operations team that they're telling me what's going on in the street. I'm learning from that. They're learning from me, and we'll all grow together. So anybody who's on the fence, make sure you're confident that you're going to get the level of support in addition to the marketing, the technology, and everything else that it offers.
Yeah. And I think of like the linchpins that come up, and I think it's a lot about mindset and not just your mind. It's like you're overthinking one thing and underthinking another, and having a coach is just, I don't even think there's a price you can put on it, truly, because if you say, well, if I didn't have that piece of advice at that particular piece at that time, what would it have cost me? Like, it could be a business sometimes. So,
Rob, have you ever heard of the book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution? Right.
No, I haven't. Tell me more. Yeah.
So I had a leader, Sue Yannicone at ERA, who brought that to that business. And the idea behind it is the 4 disciplines of execution is that you set a wildly important goal, one goal, right? One goal, not 14 goals, one goal. And you get everybody to rally behind it. But there's something about, and I'm sure you've heard this in other ways, the lead and lag measure, right? So I may say I want to grow leads by 4%. That's a lag measure. At the end, I will measure that. Did I do it? But what are the activities you should be doing every day so you talk about losing weight, right? I want to lose 10 pounds. That's the lag measure. So are you going to eat salad every day to get to that? Or are you going to, get out and walk a mile every day? Those are the tactics or the activities you need to do to get to that lag measure. So we really focus on that too, particularly for new franchisees. Here are the key activities that you should measure to drive your success. If you do these things systematically, and we hold accountability on them, because it's more than just saying you're going to do it. The accountability is important. Someone to be your partner in success and to hold you, like, say, let me call BS on that. You didn't do those things. It's okay. You had reasons, but let's refocus, right? That's what you need. That's the coach.
I'll tell you what, I got to say for anyone listening that you just heard that you would absolutely succeed in this brand. You just have to show up and execute because that is true. And if you're doing that and have been doing that, then you know that the numbers. And it's just so my background started in sales, professional sales in technology in the 90s. And so that was a fun ride, but we were all driving revenue and that's all that was. You had to know your activity metrics to get to those lag goals, which was the CFO saying Wall Street needs this, and this is the lag goal. And somehow
you need to make 1,000 calls because 1,000 calls will turn into this, right? Like that's exactly
right.
it.
And you got all these people doing similar things, and you've got the data that says this will work, and it does. Well, not always. Sometimes some of the companies were a little wrong. But my point is not in a franchise. I'm talking in the corporate world, but yeah, basically that is key because if you have that and you're willing to just do and again be honest, right? Like I'm not making the calls, or I haven't really done that. I did it twice instead of 20 times in a row. Yeah. So that's great to hear. And so is there, just before you go, is there a great way to engage your brand? Like how would you approach it? Is websites obviously, but is there what's the best way to reach out if someone is interested in learning more about joining the brand or just about the brand?
Yeah, so I would say certainly you can go to CertaPro.com and there's, you can do a franchise request. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I mean, the thing about, how I manage, and same thing for all of leadership at CertaPro, just send us a message, we respond, right? Like we are the people behind our LinkedIn, and we'll definitely get you connected with the right people. We have a tremendous executive who's the head of franchise sales, or sales development, and they will get you all the information you need. But just reach out to me. Just say, hey, I heard the podcast. I'm interested in learning more, and I will get you on your way. That's the easiest way. Right. But again, they could go to CertaPro.com and just click on
all right. Link. Well, I love the conversation. I hope to have you back because I know this is going to evolve, and you taught me some great things. I love some of the way you looked at your data there. Especially that last little bit we shared together. It just clarifies things. It's about, you kind of know things and then you're like, well, that made it clear. That made it very clear. Yeah. So thank you. You have a passion for the brand and a passion for franchising. I just appreciate your insights today, Dawn. So it's great to have you on the show and I hope to have you back.
Well, Rob, thank you so much. Anytime I could talk to you for another hour, at least on marketing. It's so much fun. So I appreciate it.
Totally. Thank you.
You're welcome.